Hello everybody, I am ASMR Reality, and tonight we are going to be talking about money. But before we do, I want you to watch this short clip.
If I made 400 grand a year, I would be embarrassed with myself as a husband, a father, basically as a human being. You guys haven't done the math because you cannot live on 400 grand a year. And if you think you can live on 400 grand a year, I might have to go back and add number one, nothing. Anybody can make 400 grand a year. All you got to do is show up. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. You guys don't need to agree with me. I've already been paid my fee. I am not here to satisfy you. I don't care if you like me or not, man. I want to move a handful of people in the room to go from 400 grand a year to start thinking about how do I make 4 million? Big boy right over here. What'd you make last year? 2.7. How does anybody live on $2.7 million a year? My plane eats $2.7 million a year. This dude needs to think different. He's running out of time, man. You guys all in the room, man, you're running out of time. You're in a space that is so frothy with opportunity, it's unbelievable.
So this is Grant Cardone. Many of you may know who he is. He's basically he's a motivational speaker and a real estate investor. He owns about 12,000 apartment units and has several other businesses, primarily all related to teaching other people how to make money. So many of these guys got rich telling people how to get rich. And he's one of them. I met this guy years ago when I worked for the car dealership. If you look back to his history, he used to be in the car business, and then he started going around to car dealerships, training car dealers, training car salespeople how to sell more cars. And that branched him out into regular motivational speaker, going to other businesses, not just car dealerships. And then he's big in Scientology as well, but ultimately he ended up in real estate as far as investment, not selling real estate, but buying apartment buildings basically is what he does. But this clip is, it's frustrating to me because in a roundabout way, he kind of discloses he's only talking to a few people in that room because ultimately, $400,000 is amazing money, but for him it would be embarrassing. Like he said, his jet costs him $2.7 million a year just to put fuel in it and maintenance it. So these are the levels of wealth across our society, and I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit. And actually, I read an article today. I was scrolling through the news online, and I read an article about him saying this. And I'm just going to, let me pull this back up, and I'm just going to read through it for you real quick. It's, I should have had it pulled up, but wasn't going to read it, but there's some interesting points in it. I'm just Googling Grant Cardone 400K. It says, the title of the article, Real Estate Mogul Grant Cardone said he'd be embarrassed as a husband, father, and human being if he only made 400K per year. If you make $400,000 a year, you'd be proud, right? Well, not if you're real estate mogul and social media influencer Grant Cardone. If I made 400 grand a year, I would be embarrassed with myself as a husband, a father, basically as a human being, Cardone said in a video on his YouTube channel. 400 grand, how do you make sense of 35,000 a month? You guys haven't done the math. You haven't done the math because you cannot live on 400 grand a year. The motivational speaker, who goes by the nickname of Uncle G, also says that he can't even live on $2.7 million a year because his plane eats $2.7 million a year. Most people don't have a private jet in their budgets, and according to the Census Bureau, the median household income in the United States was $70,784 in 2021. So there's probably no need to be embarrassed if you're making $400,000 a year. Still, the motivational speaker has one thing right. We could all use some extra cash. So here's 3 ways for how you can boost your income, because in this economic climate, every bit counts. Switching jobs. Switching jobs may seem daunting given the massive layoffs all over the news these days. Yet analysis from the Pew Research Center reveals that switching jobs could be a very clever way to boost your income. The data suggests that half of workers who changed jobs from April 2021 to March 2022 saw a real increase of 9.7% or more in their pay compared to a year earlier. A real increase is an increase after taking into account how inflation erodes the value of money. At the same time, the median worker who stayed in the job saw their real earnings decline by 1.7% over this period. This means if you're looking to bring home more money, leaving your current role or employer for better opportunities may be a good bet at getting the salary increase you're hoping for. I will tell you this, anytime I've ever left a job, I made more money. When I went from my very first job, when I went from shoveling snow and mowing yards to working fast food, made more money. When I went from working fast food to cleaning carpet, made more money. When I went from cleaning carpet to working in a factory, made more money. When I went from working in the factory to selling electronics, made more money. When I went from selling electronics to selling cars, made more money. When I went from selling cars to another dealership as a finance manager, made more money. When I went from a finance manager at one dealership to a sales manager at another dealership, made more money. I became the general manager of that dealership, made more money, but I stayed at the same job. When I finally retired from that job after 20 years, I wasn't going to work anymore. And then I decided to do real estate as a hobby. Made more money in real estate than I ever made as a general manager of a Toyota store. Now, I learned a valuable lesson there because I always preached to my salespeople that you never get more than you want. But when I got into real estate, I actually got more than I wanted. I didn't intend to make the kind of money I made, so I know I gave out false advice. However, it's possible to make more money than you want, but it's very rare. So it starts with desire. If you want more money, you really have to want it. Okay. Number 2, get a side hustle. If you want to stick with your day job, consider getting a side hustle, something you get paid for doing in addition to your full-time job. It allows you to earn extra income and could even be a way of testing the entrepreneurial waters before you dive in. In fact, side gigs have already become popular. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed that as of November, 4.5 million people were working a primary job full-time and a secondary job part-time. Moreover, 336,000 people were working full-time jobs simultaneously. We're working 2 full-time jobs simultaneously. That's basically what I did when I worked at the dealership. I worked about 75, 80 hours a week, which was like working 2 full-time jobs. If you are considering a side hustle, there's no need to start big. A simple gig like tutoring could be worth $75 to $90 an hour, while dog walking could net you as much as $1,000 a month. Consider your passions and your skills that could be valuable to someone else. I agree. One thing that I would encourage you guys all to do is start a YouTube channel. There's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he says that whatever you do, record it. So some of you play video games. Like my ASMR channel is not a good example because I'm old and I'm not the normal ASMR guy. Like if I would record my myself playing video games, my channel would skyrocket. But I don't play video games. So I just do what I like. I like listening to ASMR whispering, so I just whisper. But I still make money doing this channel. Not very much, but like this month I might make $400. It might be the most I've ever made. So for me, it isn't a big deal. But for some of you, $400 might be your car payment, or it might be definitely pay your cell phone bill or groceries. You know, it's not. I wouldn't throw the money in the trash, and I don't. And I really don't need the extra money. I mean, I don't. You guys know I don't do this for money. But it doesn't take much. There's always something out there. So that's a good side hustle. I agree with that. No, these are not from Grant Cardone. This is from MoneyWise, the money site that wrote the article. Number 3, invest with passive income in mind. To become a real high earner like Cardone, you'd probably have to do more than just dog walking. One way to achieve true wealth is to invest for passive income. It took me 20 years of trial and error before I achieved a multi-million-dollar net worth. I had to exercise tremendous discipline and invest as much money as possible into income-generating assets, Cardone writes in an article for CNBC. Now I draw income from the 18 companies I started and the 12,000 apartment units I own that make passive income. Indeed, well-chosen real estate assets can provide investors with a steady stream of rental income. Real estate is a well-known hedge against inflation. As the price of raw materials and labor goes up, new properties are more expensive to build, and that drives up the price of existing real estate. On top of that, prime commercial real estate, for example, has outperformed the S&P 500 over a 25-year period. Of course, while we all like the idea of collecting passive income, being a landlord does come with its hassles, like fixing leaky faucets and dealing with difficult tenants. But these days, you don't need to be a landlord to start investing in real estate. With the help of new platforms, these kind of opportunities are now available to retail investors, not just the ultra-rich. With a single investment, investors can own institutional quality properties leased by brands like CVS, Kroger, and Walmart, and collect stable grocery store anchored income on a quarterly basis. So those are the 3 things that this article says could help bring in additional money. Certainly I do have rental properties, so I do agree with getting rentals. I think it's a great idea. I do believe, when you get those properties paid for, it's just the rent comes in the mail every month, and it's just extra income. It's rare that I have to do any repairs on my properties. It happens sometimes, but very rare. If you make the properties nice before people move in, and you make sure you qualify your tenants, it's pretty easy. I have one home that I've rented to the same people for probably now 7 years, and I have another one where I'm in my 4th year with the same tenant right now. So if you get good ones, they just pay and they just stay. As far as these investments, talking about commercial real estate, there's a lot of, they're basically stocks now. There's companies that allow you to invest in them, and they give you a percentage of the profit from the rents they collect from these commercial companies like CVS, Kroger. Interestingly enough, like when you go to Kroger, they don't own that building. They lease that building from somebody. They contact a builder and say, hey, if you'll build this for us, we'll lease it from you. Because tax-wise, it's beneficial for them to do it. It's strange how our tax system works, but that's better for the company to do it that way. So yeah, but back to Grant Cardone saying 400 grand is embarrassing. I wanted to make this video because it's not embarrassing. Number one, it's very difficult to do. Most people will never make that kind of money. But if you want to have 15 houses, and all those houses are multi-millions of dollars, and you want to have a private jet, then yeah, you have to make hundreds of millions of dollars a year. But personally, it's all about your comfort level, what you want. Like me, I really believe if I wanted that life, I could do it. I know I could. I just know I could, but I really don't want that life. I don't want to spend the rest of my life hustling to make money. I like a peaceful life. I like hanging out with my dogs and working a decent schedule. I spent a lot of years working my life away, and the reason I did that was so that I could have all of my stuff paid for. I wanted my house paid for. I wanted my rentals paid for, so that could bring me income, and I wouldn't have to work anymore if I didn't want to work. Now I work because I like it. Like, I actually like selling real estate most of the time. There's still times it's a monster. There's hard parts about it, but in the end, I'm able to utilize the additional money that I have that I really don't need to do things that I love, like contribute to charities that I'm passionate about, like animal charities. It's just my thing. Everybody has their own, personal charities that they like to give to, but for me, it's animals. And yeah, excuse me. So I really just think that how much money is enough? Well, the average in America is $70,000. Is that enough? I believe it's enough to have a good life. I think you can make $70,000 a year. You could be smart with it. You're never going to have jets and mansions, but you could definitely have a life like me if you made that kind of money. You just have to be smart with it. You would just have to save a lot of it. You have to make smart investments. You'd have to start investing early. And you could be okay. You just have to find a place that you really like to live. Like, you have to be grounded, I believe. If you're going to have an average life, be a normal human being and not some sort of multi-millionaire like him, then you can have a good life. And I think that sometimes people watch that. Like, I know there's a lot of young men that watch that video, and after they watch it, they feel like hell. They feel it affects their self-confidence. It affects their self-esteem. That's why I wanted to make this video, because there's no shame. There's zero shame in being a normal human being, because most of us are. And guys like that are just extremely rare. He is like, they talk about the 1%. I'm in the 1%. He's probably in the 0.0001, probably 10 zeros, 1%, because he has a net worth over 100 million. I became a multimillionaire with a normal job, doing just smart investing and being disciplined and diligent and working hard and making sacrifices. My next video, I'm going to make a job about work. And so I don't want to get too carried away on that, but ultimately what I want you guys to know is that there's just no shame in it. That if you're making 70,000 or less, it's okay. It's a progression. This dude wasn't making 70,000 when he was 25 years old either. He basically, through his network, he was exposed to more and more things. He met richer and richer people. he would go into these car dealerships to teach the salespeople how to make more money, but the car dealership owners had more money than he did. And I think eventually, he would probably go to dinner with those guys. And when you surround yourself with wealthy people, that's what there's a saying, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So think about the 5 people you hang around. Likely, you're never going to rise above that average. Take the average income of the 5 people you're around. That's likely what you'll get. This guy surrounded himself with multimillionaires, and look, that's what he was able to do. Now, I'm sure he gives a lot of it to his church and things. Like, another example is Mr. Beast. There's a guy that's making even more money than Grant Cardone, but he's giving it all away. He's a fascinating human being to me, Mr. Beast is, and I think he's inspirational. When I think about, should I do something like this? Should I go out and try to spend another 10 years and go work my life away to try to really get more money? I would want to give it all away like Mr. Beast. That's what I would want to do. I would want to help people, help the world. And so yeah, I don't know, but I'm not going to. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my life, selfishly maybe, but I'm just going to follow my plan. My plan was to work. It's like the old saying, it's like pay now or pay later. And I remember thinking it through hard when I was young. I'm like, do I want to live it up now and party and when I'm young and then work when I'm older? And I thought, no, because I was so poor as a kid. I know I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be poor. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to work and work like hell and dig myself out of this hole so that when I'm older, I can have a good life. And now I've made it, and it is just like, sometimes, man, I'm just like, I'll be outside and like working in the yard or, just playing with my dogs outside or doing my horse chores. And I just think to myself, like, this is just amazing, because my stress level is so much less than it used to be, and so many of you have said that I've been inspirational for you, and that's really what I want. I want to give you. I want you to kind of live through me and know that when you get to be my age, I know you're going through hell right now. You wonder how the hell are you going to make it, and you're working probably a job that you hate, and you're struggling maybe to pay your bills. But if you're doing the right things, or you're not doing the right things, but you know you need to do better, trust me when I tell you, knock it out, get it done, make those changes in your life, and good things will come. You don't have to make $400,000 a year, but if you keep your focus on those things, setting a goal, like my goal was always, I wanted to be retired when I was 40, but it didn't work. It took me until I was 47, but I retired when I was 47. But what happened is I realized I didn't like it. I was 47, and I was doing nothing. I was waking up, walking my dogs to death, and I was bored, and I felt like unproductive. And so I just thought, well, let me do something as a hobby, and that's when I got into real estate, and it just blew up on me, and it was amazing. And I was able to make more than $400,000 a year selling real estate. And it's been an amazing thing. So this is my 5th year selling real estate, and I don't know how much longer I'll do it. I I think there's another chapter for me. I just don't know what it is yet, and I'm trying to kind of figure that out. What would be the next thing that I do? So, but the beauty is I really don't have to do anything, and that's what you can have. I promise you. With a normal job, I wasn't making that much. The most I ever made before I retired was $250,000 a year, but I didn't make that for very long. I probably made like $250 for like 4 or 5 years. Before that, I was making like $175, $150 for 5, 6, 7 years, and before that, like just right at 100. And all those years prior to that, I was making 60, 70 grand. So it is very possible, but you get better and better at your skills. You get more and more mature, and people, you develop a reputation. Companies become dependent on you, and they will pay you more money when you're valuable to them. So just stay positive, keep working, look for other ways, maybe do a side hustle, definitely start investing. And what was the third thing? Maybe change jobs. Maybe that's what's in your future. I don't know. But just got to keep going. You can do it. And you can do it on a lot less than 400 grand a year. And you don't have to feel like crap if you don't. So, I appreciate you all. And I will see you on the next one.